Hello and welcome to Horror Cult Trash Over, the show that discusses all the masterpieces and trash to pieces of genre cinema. My name's Chris.
I'm Gary.
And welcome to another episode for our Summer Screams for August 2024.
The year where we successfully kept it in summer.
Yeah, very summery, very, very summery. Even though the weather here in the UK isn't very summery. The films, well, to be fair, today's film is Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Mm-hmm.
Black and white.
Yeah.
Our summer weather here in the UK, pretty black and white.
Yeah.
Very grey.
Yeah.
Very sepia toned.
A film about the effects on nature that humanity has had.
Of course.
So, yeah, quite fitting. But first, we do have a little catch-up to have.
Well, we have a fairly big catch-up. Obviously,
do.
We're releasing today's episode much later than we would normally because of Texas Chainsaw Massacre Day.
Yeah.
So we've got a fair few films that we've seen since last episode, which was Wrong Turn 2, that we need to discuss. So which is your highlight, your first time watch?
My best of the week is Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm happy with how much I've been able to say this particular sentence this year on the podcast. Another life-changing film that changed the way I look at films and what can be done with 2 hours, 4 people, and a lot of dialogue. It's just an absolute masterclass in filmmaking. Immediately made it into my top 20 films. Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, both fantastic animals in Sex and the City and Just Like That.
Yeah.
Cutest dogs. They're also good actors in this film. And yeah, just everyone delivers perfect performances. It's just a masterpiece.
Yeah. My favourite performance ever put to film.
Yeah, I'd say the same.
Elizabeth Taylor in Who's
this.
Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Just impeccable acting. And not because it's, oh, she's so glamorous and look how dowdy she is. It's not that at all. It is an incredible performance. Really so powerful. And to be a standout in a film that really only has 4 performances, 4 main characters, and to have people like Sandy Dennis, George Segal, and it was George Segal, wasn't it? Yeah, and Richard Burton also giving career best performances. It's an incredible film. Mike Nichols, was this his directorial debut? I believe it was. An incredible director, one of my absolute favourites. I've seen this film numerous times, so it's not my pick, but I was so pleased to finally show it to Gary because it really is. It's probably maybe in my top 10 films of all time. But yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Funny enough, we watched it because of Multiple Maniacs.
We did, yeah, yes.
Divine made us think of Elizabeth Taylor.
Well, Divine always makes me think of Elizabeth Taylor. Elizabeth Taylor comes back a lot in John Waters' films, and this is probably the closest to a John Waters film, but really the shouting and all that business. My top pick of the week is a new watch, and this was very, very close, but I went with Dìdi.
Yeah, that's my second best.
Yeah, really, really love Dìdi. A great sort of throwback to a time that I may remember being of a certain age.
We're at that point now where we're getting period pieces set in the 2000s.
Yes, MySpace era, YouTube
so
at the
accurate.
very beginning. So very, very accurate. I love Joan Chen.
Yeah.
I adore her performance in this film. She is, I hope, she's probably going to get like an Independent Spirit Award nomination, but I would love to see an Oscar nomination come her way. Beautiful performance from her.
The frustrating thing is, this year we've had so many films where we've seen like some real top tier performances, and we've actually said to each other, "Oh, well, if this would be nominated the Oscar," and it's such a shame that these are those sort of films. Like, seriously, this should be nominated at the Oscars. You know, if we really want to get into it and look at the performances that were nominated this year, you know, both Isaac Wang and Joan Chen deliver better performances than Robert Downey Jr. did in Oppenheimer. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's all relative, isn't it?
It's relative. They're different
really?
films, completely different films, but like comparative when we're talking about performances, there are numerous ones that were nominated this year and last year and so on, where
Oh my God, just say it. Naiad.
Well, yeah, Naiad, especially Naiad.
Annette Bening and Jodie Foster, we pray at the ground that you walk on. You are absolute phenomenal talents, but you did not deserve Oscar nominations this year.
But like this, and then you even like Now Tiger Free in First Omen, Longlegs, Michael Monroe and Nicolas Cage. The film that's definitely going to be your second best for this week.
Yes.
A particular performance in that. So many films this year, either small films or horror films, that have 10 out of 10 performances, and they'll probably be snubbed again.
Yeah, of course.
It's such a shame. It's been a fantastic year for performances. But yeah, I mean, as I said though, not just Joan Chen, Isaac Wang as well, for a child actor, he really nails the awkward, sad, lonely, confused teenager, and he absolutely nails that role completely. He makes it so believable. Director Sean Wang's grandmother is in the film, and it's actually surprisingly really fucking good.
Yeah,
considering it's just his grandmother.
I'm assuming she's just playing herself.
Yeah,
this is very much feels autobiographical, and I love the fact that the film can be extremely frustrating at times, and we see characters make some terrible decisions for themselves, and we sit there and we're like, oh, you idiots, why are you doing that? But I sit here as somebody who is over 30 years of age, and I remember at that time, probably in 2008, if I was watching myself, I would be like, what are you doing? Hello, stop being silly.
Oh god, there's so much to relate to with the lead character.
Yeah, love that film. I hope it does really well, because it's the kind of stories I like to see on the big screen. And yeah, I can't recommend it enough. Love Dìdi. Absolutely. That's Dìdi, D-I-D-I as well, in case anyone's Googling it.
And your second best?
My second best is, as you can imagine, Spider-Man 3. Oh, no, sorry, excuse me.
It's a rewatch, you're banned. You've broken the rules.
It's, of course, Alien Romulus.
Yeah.
What a wonderful, wonderful horror sci-fi
Damn, Elizabeth
film.
Taylor keeping it from my best.
Yes.
It's...
Well, didn't Dìdi as well.
Well, technically. It's phenomenal. It's the best one since Aliens. And I say that as someone who loves Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection and Prometheus and didn't completely hate Covenant. So, or Covenant, whatever the fuck it was called. But yeah.
Wasn't it Alien, you do the blowing?
Yes, it was. The fingering. But referring back to what I said a couple of minutes ago, David Johnson in this film deserves an Oscar.
Yeah.
Like the range in his performance as Andy is fantastic. Kaylee Spaney's great. And the practical effects, it's a miracle we have a film that looks like this in 2024. Because it looks like it was made in the 80s. Yeah,
it looks fantastic. It is absolutely a love letter to Alien. Not so much aliens. I will say that to a certain degree. But I feel like it's a love letter to Alien. And it does it so well. Also does something completely new.
Yeah.
With it. Has its own spin on it. Has something to say as well, which I love. I love that. Nice little message in a horror film. Fabulous. And yeah, it's just a thrill ride. It's fun. There's some great action, some great gore, there's some great death scenes. The aliens look great, practical effects look great. Highly, highly, highly recommend. But I feel like if you're gonna see it, you've already seen it.
I hope so.
But anyone who is umming and ahhing about it because they're not sure if they like that kind of film, then, make your own choice.
Anyone who's reading those reviews, everyone's like, oh, but there's too much fan service. Here's a question. Do you like fun? If the answer's yes, go and fucking see it. If the answer's no, then don't. Stay at home.
But how far removed do we need to be from the Alien cinematic universe for it not to be called fan service?
No, it's
like it would be like calling one of the Star Wars what's it called, Force Awakens, like, oh, it's fan service. No, it's a Star Wars film.
Okay, the original Star Wars trilogy, one of the greatest trilogies of all time. I have some news for you.
Oh.
Every time that we get a little callback to the film before, and like the I love you, I know, heads up, that's fucking fan service. And that's one of the greatest trilogies of all time. Like, we haven't got time. We would be here. I could do a whole episode on how dumb the critique is on fan service. Just fucking have fun and be done with it. Christ. Honorable mentions. Alien Romulus was my top honorable mention.
Yes.
Faye. My second honorable mention.
Yeah, really enjoyed Faye. Yeah, okay. You can tell that she went through it with a fine-tooth comb.
Yes.
She was like, this ain't seeing the light of day until I've critiqued it thoroughly from start to finish. But I enjoyed the career retrospective of an actress that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see her side of the story. As an actress who is seen as difficult.
Yeah.
It's a career ender. And for her to come out and say, yeah, maybe I was, but here's my truth, here's my side of the story. And I always think that the truth is somewhere in between. So it was nice to hear her side of the story. Yeah. I speak specifically on Betty Davis, an actress that I also really love, who detested Faye Dunaway.
Yeah, and other than that, all I have for my honorable mentions is a few films by Susan Pitt. So we watched Jefferson Circus Songs, Asparagus, Crocus, and Pinball. All short films by someone who mastered how to convey surrealism within cinema. Yeah,
Suzanne Pitt. We signed up for, and this isn't an advertisement.
Hey, if you want to sponsor
it would
us,
be nice to see some money in my bank account for what I'm about to say, but it's unlikely. But we recently signed up to Mubi, and we had a little spare time, and we're like, let's put a watch list together of what looks interesting. And I saw this Suzanne Pitt. I think one of them, Asparagus maybe, was the one that I saw first. And I was like, well, that looks interesting. So we sat down and we went through her short films. These are short films. And it perfectly blends surrealism, animation, but from a very, sexual viewpoint as well. But a female, feminist sexuality on film.
Yeah, very ahead of its time.
Very, very much so. Loved it. Loved her work. Can't wait to watch more. There is more to watch for us. But like Gary said, Asparagus, Crocus, Pinball, and Jefferson Circus Songs were very much enjoyed.
Yeah,
and very much enjoyed by us.
Yeah, they were. Asparagus actually was always paired with Eraserhead when Eraserhead was released in the UK.
I would say if you're going to see any of them as a tester to see if it's your kind of thing, Asparagus, for me, was the highlight. That was a 5-star, wonderful film.
Well, with that being said,
yes,
spoiler warning is now in effect.
Speaking of female sexuality, repressed on the big screen, today we're discussing Creature from the Black Lagoon.
We are delving back into Universal Monsters with what is quite possibly the campest Universal Monsters film.
Yes.
From 1954, Creature from the Black Lagoon is so fucking camp, and it's so fucking gay.
Would you, just so I'm correct in my assumption, is this quite late in Universal Monsters?
This this and its two sequels are the final Universal Monsters films.
Oh, okay.
I love that this exists in the same
Yes.
universe as Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Phantom of the Opera, and the Invisible Man, and Bride of Frankenstein. Like, it's just so funny because the creature is so camp, and I would have loved a big crossover because obviously there's crossovers with the other characters. Imagine a crossover with the creature.
Yes. That would have worked. I think that would have worked actually.
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
You could start making out with Frankenstein's monster.
Because this is Universal Monsters, but I do think it has more in common with your B movies from the 1950s.
Yeah.
This is your Cold War style of sci-fi horror rather than Frankenstein, your James Whale, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, that Universal horror that we've known so well.
Yeah, it's a beach removed from being a beach party film.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, one song from Frank Sinatra Jr. and this would a beach party movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. I really, this is probably, this is the first Universal Monsters film I watched.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it kind of, it changes
another piece of that puzzle.
Well, yeah, it changes things up because obviously Universal Monsters, you expect a gothic castle and or the woods, or real gothic haunted surroundings. But most of the horror in this takes place during the daytime.
Yeah.
Out on a lagoon.
Yeah.
It's it really changed things up, and it's a shame that it came at the tail end of it. It's directed by Jack Arnold, and with what you were saying before, a lot of people involved with this film also worked on It Came From Outer Space 3D. So the Jack Arnold directed It Came From Outer Space 3D. He also did The Incredible Shrinking Man, Marilyn, The Untold Story, episodes of The Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew miniseries, Wonder Woman, Gilligan's Island, The Fall Guy, The Brady Bunch, Love Boat, and more.
Yeah, High School Confidential, Monster on Campus. Very much a B movie director. Definitely.
He knew what he was doing.
Yes. And I think this is Universal horror, and I'm not too knowledgeable, so this is all based on assumptions here.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that this is Universal horror trying to get into that B movie market.
I feel like that's what it's trying to do. Even though, I mean, really, they were ahead of the curve. Stuff like Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman are groundbreaking because they were so ahead of what was being done at that time.
Yeah, but I think there was still a prestige to it to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I know it was horror, but I still feel like that was seen as proper horror.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm thinking more this is post William Castle, or this is around William Castle's time, where the fact that this is in 3D means that it is kind of William Castle-esque, that gimmick of the 3D Universal Monsters in 3D.
And I guess that says a lot about the time, and you can kind of compare it to how something like the MCU is huge now and has like all these different spin-offs and everything, which Universal Monsters had back then. I think I made the same comparison before, but this works with what I'm saying now, because then you get films that have come later on, like Borderlands, for example, Terminator, the Linda Hamilton one, and a few films like that, where you go into it and immediately, like Jurassic World Dominion, where you can see they're taking that MCU humor despite having their own franchises to come from, where they could take stuff from it. Yeah. So I feel like Creature from the Black Lagoon had an entire established franchise where it could have took bits and bobs and stuff, but it kind of does its own thing, but matches with the films that were being released around the same time.
Yes.
But let's also not forget, before this point, we also had the Abbott and Costello films.
Yes.
So it definitely went from being prestige to then allowing itself to be silly and self-referential.
Yeah.
And I think this falls somewhere in the middle. I think it's trying to be filmed from that time. I think it is a little silly, but I also think it has something to say. It does that classic horror cult trash over complaint thing where it kind of says something at the start of the film, like, oh, well, this creature must have been created from this and that, referring to what humans have done to the planet. But then that's kind of just like, it's like, we've said it now.
Yeah.
You know what this is. We're just going to leave it there. But yeah, so I think it falls somewhere in the middle. But Jack Arnold, surprisingly, no stories about him being a closet case.
No.
Shocking. I mean, he directed Wonder Woman episodes. Marilyn the Untold Story. Written by Harry, maybe one of these queens.
Well, you know a straight guy is going to do something that's exploitative as Marilyn. What year was this Marilyn the Untold Story? Oh, 1980, way after she died. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Only a straight man would exploit a dead woman in that way.
But I assume there's some gays...
I say that firmly tongue-in-cheek, so do not quote me on that one.
There's got to be some gays on the writing team.
Absolutely.
Because there are homoerotic undertones in this film that almost smash through being undertones and go straight up to being just in your face. Written by Harry Essex. He did It Came From Outer Space. Also Ida Jury, The Cremators, Hostage Flight, Los Amigos, I Dream of Jeannie.
Ooh.
B. Man and Boy, and more. Also written by Arthur A. Ross, who did The Great Race, Craft Mystery Theatre, Brubaker, Satan's School for Girls. Oh, I think we found him. Funny Side of Life, The Creature Walks Among Us, and more. And Maurice Zim, who did Jeopardy, Perry Mason, The Prodigal, Good Day for a Hanging, Affair in Havana, Biff Baker USA, Letter to Loretta, and more. And based on an idea by an uncredited William Ireland. Actually, a small number of writers compared to the usual Universal Monsters
That
films.
is true, actually. I'm assuming budgets were slightly lower for this one.
The budget was $650,000 and it made $1.3 million worldwide, which is probably thanks to A, being part of an already established franchise, and B, being released in 3D.
Yeah.
Shot in 3D, the first film to feature underwater 3D shots. And I must say, up until today, I'd only watched it in 3D, and it's some of my favourite 3D. It looks fantastic.
Obviously, we watch it in modern 3D. Am I assuming it would be the red and
blue? Red and blue. They showed it on TV in red and blue in France, and everyone complained that looked shit. But the original cinema release would have been in red and blue. And I can confirm, as someone who is old enough to have been to a red and blue 3D screen at cinema, Spy Kids 3D, anyone, it looks fucking good at the cinema. Yeah. It looks great on the big screen, but when you try and watch it at home, it's a bit naff. Whereas the real D 3D, the modern one, looks great no matter where you watch it, and this really, I'd love to see this on a big screen in real D 3D.
Do you want to hear a little secret?
What?
I don't think I've ever watched a film in red and blue 3D.
Have you not? Oh, wow.
I've always wanted to with the end of Freddy's Dead.
Yeah.
But that's never happened.
No.
Because they haven't released that?
No.
So whenever we've watched, and I don't know if anyone else has, there's been no release on home media, Freddy's Dead.
I think on VHS it had the 3D
did
glasses.
It? Yeah. Oh. Well, maybe we have to do that.
Amazing.
I would very much like to watch that in red and blue.
Yes.
Because it's also not a whole film, so.
But yeah, I don't think you could beat the modern.
But the 3D looks great. The modern 3D, we've watched it. We've not to show off, but we've got a fairly big TV, so it looks great with the 3D. Obviously, I can't take notes with 3D glasses on. That would give me a headache. So we watched it in 2D. But we have,
and it still looks great in 2D.
It's fine.
Cinematography in this film is beautiful. It's really well shot.
So ahead of its time, I feel, with the underwater stuff. It looks great, and I know you had those sort of how would you describe them? The synchronized swimming films. describe
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
It speaks for itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose you had that, but this looks great, I feel.
Interesting fans. Ingmar Bergman watched this film every year on his birthday.
Oh.
It's the first film Stephen King can remember watching. And
Ingmar Bergman, a big fan of Sex and the City.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, as was Liv Ullmann.
Are you being serious?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
Liv Ullmann, big fan, big fan.
Nice.
They asked her to be, you know the Carol Bouquet,
Mhm.
the Russian's ex-wife.
Yeah.
They wanted Liv Ullmann to play her,
Oh,
but
wow.
Liv Ullmann was like, "Oh no, I don't think I could. I love the show too much."
I'm surprised I didn't get Bergman to pop up.
Ingmar Bergman, yeah, Ingmar Bergman was apparently a big fan of
Oh,
Sex and the
taste.
City. Yeah.
And the 2017 Oscar-winning film *The Shape of Water* was partly inspired by Guillermo del Toro's childhood memories of Creature from Black Lagoon. He wished to see the girl man and the film's co-star succeed in their romance. Del Toro, I love you, but the girl man does not want to fuck Kay. He wants to be Kay.
I think there was a musical.
There was a
in
musical,
2009, which also did something similar, where it played up the romance more, and Kay being attracted to the creature. Now, I've referred to it in my notes as the creature.
The creature, yeah, I got it as the creature.
Yeah, rather than Gilman.
Yeah.
Because Gilman makes me think of the real sad guy from The Simpsons.
Okay, well, we'll go with the creature.
Yeah, okay.
It's had a troubled history of trying to get a remake.
Oh.
Over the years, John Landis, John Carpenter, Peter Jackson, Ivan Reitman, obviously Del Toro, it kind of succeeded. Breck Eisner and Carl Eric Wrench have all either been attached or considered to direct a remake of this film. James Wan is currently directing a remake of this film. But how weird that so many remakes have fell through. It's quite a simple process, really. I mean,
I'm gonna say something, and I don't feel like this detracts too much from this film itself, but I don't know what else you can do with it.
True. Unless you take it super seriously.
But I feel like, and I'll go more into it, but I feel like this film is at times maybe a little repetitive.
Yeah.
I feel like it's quite a short film, only 79 minutes. Yeah. I actually feel like this could have just been an hour, indeed maybe an episode of The Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like the premise is great, but it only stretches so far. So I don't see how, and I know how every modern film has to be 2+ hours.
Yeah.
I hope and pray that the remake isn't. Because I don't think it needs to be.
I mean,
unless you're bringing him up the Mississippi River to New York. Maybe my geography's not the best.
Well, there is 2
River
sequels
into New York.
There are 2 sequels we haven't watched yet. So I wonder how
you could smush them together.
I know one of them is about them putting him in an aquarium for people to go and look at, and it goes wrong, like Jaws 3D. And I know the other, he wears a suit. That's all I know about it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, excited to watch those.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, The Shape of Water is probably the best remake you could get of this film. The closest thing to a good remake of this film.
To a certain degree, I do believe so, but it does something completely different.
Yeah.
In that film, the creature isn't the antagonist.
No.
The human race is the antagonist.
Yeah. I think that's a way of looking at this, to be honest.
True.
Which brings me...
Yeah. True.
Which brings me to something that we'd usually do in Pride Month. But fuck it, Summer Screams and this is gay, so I'm going to tell you what makes this gay. Over the years, the film has gained a queer following, with many queer people who can identify with the creature's desire for acceptance by the muscular, beautiful humans that he idolizes on the surface. And the creature also represents a threat to the Hetty love triangle formed by Kay and the 2 rival scientists who compete for her affections. Mark and David, now the creature, I get it. I get how the creature could be seen as a gay icon. tale as old as time, really, when you think about a monster in a horror film that's misunderstood by people, etc., etc. Mark and David's what we need to be talking about here, because this entire film has them two bickering, doing some homoerotic diving, battling it out with no shirt and short shorts, and just so much sexual tension between them. They should have just kissed.
They should have. A lot of people read it as Mark is the homosexual character,
Makes sense.
and that's why he's constantly on David's case.
Yeah, he is.
Because bickering is a wonderful way to flirt. Picking at people and having a go at them and being passive aggressive is my love language. So that's definitely queer.
Yeah. There are some scenes in this which we'll be talking about later on where,
Yes.
I mean, the amount of screen time dedicated to them not having their shirts on, and like the way they're shot as well. And again, the short shorts. I know it's a thing at a time, but we're in 2024 now, and we're looking at it as two queers, and it's so gay.
They're definitely hungry at parts. Definitely hungry. Looks a little uncomfortable. Also, and this sounds like I'm taking the piss, but people have read into this. The creature kind of looks like a cock.
What?
Kind of phallic.
It does.
You look like the head.
I've never thought about
the
that.
head looks like a cock.
We actually have an action figure of him in this room,
Yeah.
and I can definitely see that.
Like,
oh my god,
phallic. Like, particularly, so, like, where the top of the head is,
Yeah.
it looks like the head of a cock. And people have looked into that. People have seen this phallic image of the creature from the Black Lagoon.
I was here and I was going to tell you about how iconic the creature's design is, but you kind of ruined it now.
It is iconic. It is iconic. But also phallic.
I mean, it also helps that he pulls the most camp faces throughout.
And there's jazz hands.
Who was the drag queen who famously did Creature from the Black Lagoon drag and it went viral?
Was
on Drag Race.
It was on Drag Race. Was it Lucy LaDuca?
No.
Lucy LaDuca did do it, but was in the bottom two. Spoiler alert for that episode.
Maybe that
did.
is...
Yeah, it wasn't the face wasn't Creature from the Black Lagoon, but the rest was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really trying to think now. That's really annoying because I feel like there was someone else.
But then during the what was the episode? Oh, who was it? Asia O'Hara.
Asia O'Hara, that's who I'm thinking of.
Asia O'Hara did it in the Mermaid.
Yes.
That was a mermaid. So that was maybe a little more like what's that film?
Yeah, that
really exploitative film. Roger Corman produced.
Oh fuck! What is it? Humanoids from the Deep.
Humanoids from the Deep.
That's 100% what I was thinking of. Yeah. But this time around, watching that, all I could think of was Asia O'Hara doing that face, and literally the creature spends most of this film doing that face.
Yeah.
It's a little gormless, but it's so camp. It's amazing how a design for a horror creature could be as camp as this. I love it. I love it so much. It's so of its time. And just seeing him constantly going after this queen that he stands, and then these two homosexuals, it's just amazing.
Well, you say love triangle, it's more like a love square.
Yeah, except Creature's definitely not interested in getting with Kay.
Potentially not. Yeah, I suppose he... Well, a spoiler alert's in effect. We have said that.
Yeah.
So, I suppose that he could be trying to remove her from the situation.
Yes. Yes.
Not as in...
But that's what I just said. He's trying to get in the way. He's trying to be a threat to the triangle.
We'll get into it as we discuss the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yes, let's discuss who's in it.
Oh yeah, and I was gonna our feature presentation.
Oh, I thought you were
We need
just
to talk about who's
doing a
in
fun
it.
impression of the narrator. It
No.
sounds like he's in a different
Well,
room.
I was going to. That was my little practice. So yeah,
We could do it
in a
again.
section we like to call "Hey, I know you." Do we?
Yeah, Richard Carlson plays Dr. David Reed. And he was in, surprise, surprise, It Came From Outer Space 3D.
Are you sure it's
Um,
not? It came out from outer space.
Well, it should be. The Little Foxes, The Ghost Breakers, All I Desire, Change of Habit, The Valley of Gwangi, The Power, not the one we watched, Dela, Tormented, and more.
B movie,
Yeah.
definitely B movie actor. A couple of All I Desire is Douglas Sirk. The Little Foxes is the Betty Davis film. William Wyler. So small roles in big films.
Yeah.
Big roles in small films.
Yeah. Julia Adams is Kay Lawrence. She was in Code Red, Catch Fire, MCQ, 10 episodes. Wait for this. You know how we usually have someone who's in Murder, She Wrote?
Yes.
Julia Adams was in 10 fucking episodes of Murder, She Wrote.
Ooh, as different characters.
I have no, the same character.
Nice.
She's a regular.
Oh, good for her.
Carnage, World Trade Center, Black Roses, The Fifth Floor, Goodbye Franklin High, The Killer Inside Me, and more.
Black Roses looks great.
Yeah. She noted that making this film was an extremely pleasant process. What a nice change.
Lovely.
A really pleasant process. And that the cast and crew got along quite well. She also explained that she felt sympathetic towards the monster ally. Adams said, there always is this feeling of compassion for the monster. I think maybe it touches something in ourselves, maybe the darker parts of ourselves that long to be loved, and they really can't ever be loved. It strikes a chord within us.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. This queen also performed all of her own stunts for the film.
Yes, which is impressive.
Yeah.
But also, as we will discuss, she could have done more stunts.
She could have.
She was allowed to.
Ginger Stanley performed the underwater scenes.
Yes, Ginger Stanley. Oh my god, I wish I was called Ginger Stanley.
I know, and I must say, those swimming scenes are so cunty. I mean, she gets one, but we'll get to it.
Yes.
It's amazing. But it's the most physical activity she gets to do in the film. But aside from that, she just stands around slaying the entire film. Just looking cunty. She likes to sig up at one point. She has a few outfit changes on this boat whilst they're being attacked by a creature. And her face card checks out.
That face card. My God. What a beautiful face.
Like, they literally just said to her, turn up, serve looks, and say some good lines of dialogue every now and then. Get kidnapped.
That hair as well.
I know. Ooh. She is
one of the true beauties.
Yeah, absolutely stunning. Live for this character, and I'm excited to see her character in Murder, She Wrote when we eventually watch it. Yeah. Richard Denning plays Dr. Mark Williams. He was in An Affair to Remember.
Ooh.
The Black Scorpion.
Ooh.
Creature with the Atom Brain.
Oh wow.
Twice Told Tales. Desert Hal. The Lady Takes a Flyer.
Ooh.
And
what's
more.
That? The Lady Takes a Flyer. Wow. I have no idea. The Lady Takes a Flyer. I love that.
Yeah. So yes, the other part of the love triangle.
Yes. Yeah.
The most aggressively homosexual one.
Yeah. The closet case. That is.
Yeah.
So I'm obsessed with Lady Takes a Flyer. How are we spelling flyer?
Flyer.
Oh.
I don't think it's. I mean, I wonder if it's literally about a woman who takes a flyer.
Yeah, and it leads her on some strange adventure.
The Lady Takes a Flyer is a 1958 comedy drama.
Yeah.
And it's about a husband and wife. They're both pilots.
Oh.
And they try to balance their time and priorities between work and family life.
Oh, so it's Flyer, but. Oh, okay. Is it an American thing, or do we not know how to spell?
Probably a bit both.
Okay.
Um,
Ooh.
but speaking of face cards,
Yes.
Lana Turner looks amazing in that film as well.
Oh, is that Lana Turner?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But
We digress.
also, Antonio Moreno plays Dr. Carl Maya. He was in The Temptress, The Adulterer,
Ugh.
The Spanish Dancer, It, not that one, Notorious, The Searchers, Wings of the Hawk, Thunder Bay, Mark of the Renegade, Saddle Tramp,
Oh.
Dallas, Two Latins from Manhattan, and more.
Yeah, so that's the Clara Bow It.
Yeah.
So that's where I believe It Girl comes from.
Oh, okay,
she's
so
an
she
It
didn't play
girl.
Pennywise.
No, no. I'm assuming she was wise. But,
She's got his hair.
The Flapper Shop Girl woos her rich boss with animal magnetism, otherwise known as It. Wow. Okay, already part of my watch list.
I mean, yeah, the last 10 minutes been spent with us adding things to our watch list.
True. True.
Do you have anyone else?
Do I have anyone else? I don't actually.
No?
I think everyone else was just, standard B movie actors.
Yeah.
Whit Bissell.
Mm-hmm.
Whit Bissell plays Dr. Edwin Thompson. He was in The Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Manchurian Candidate, one of my favourites, Soylent Green,
Mm-hmm.
The Magnificent Seven, Hood, H.G. Wells's The Time Machine, not the Samantha Mumba version, The Defiant Ones, Brute Force, Seven. So in some rather famous films, Airport, The Birdman of Alcatraz. So yeah, he was fairly well established in the film, but that's about it really.
Okay, in that case, let's talk about our feature presentation.
Not since the beginning of time has man known such terror. No, no. Ah! Creature from the Black Lagoon. Startling beyond belief in the screen's first underwater 3D thrill.
This lungfish, the bridge between fish and the land animal. He hasn't changed for millions of years.
Science was baffled, but there it was in the deep, deep waters of the Amazon. A living link with the dawn of time. Powerful, destructive. A woman's beauty, the bait that brought it out of its lair. See underwater thrills never photographed before in this most terrifying of all science fiction adventures. Creature from the Black Lagoon.
So we open with some narration and what I believe is kind of random stock footage, like images of, and the narrator says, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void. This, the planet Earth, newly born and cooling rapidly from a temperature 6,000 degrees to a few hundred in less than 5 billion years. Heat rises, meets the atmosphere, the clouds form, and rain pours down upon the hardening surface for countless centuries. The restless seas rise, find boundaries, are contained. Now in their warm depths, the miracle of life begins. In infinite variety, living things appear and change and reach the land, leaving a record of their coming, of their struggle." The used condom, of their struggle to survive and of their eventual end. The record of life is written on the land where 15 million years later, in the upper reaches of the Amazon, man is still trying to read it. That's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Considering the rest of the film is quite light-hearted,
and kind of like a small story. Like that's making it sound like a huge epic, like the fucking 10 Commandments or something. Bringing God into this as well. I don't know why. Which is kind of maybe a little much for a small film.
Probably a bit.
Kind of a lot of the film is contained just to one area as well.
True.
And it has like a beginning, middle, and end. But so a geology expedition in the Amazon uncovers some fossilized evidence. A skeletal hand with webbed fingers.
That comes right out of the screen in 3D.
It does. And this fossilized evidence, these webbed fingers, are from the Devonian period that provides a direct link between land and sea animals. Expedition leader Dr. Karl Meyer orders his 2 assistants to stay in the camp while he visits the Marine Biology Institute. Karl reunites with his friend and former student, ichthyologist, yeah,
Yeah.
that's all you get, Dr. David Reed. David works at an aquarium in California, but more recently he has been a guest at Karl's Institute in Brazil to study lungfish. So we're introduced to David whilst he's scuba diving in his short shorts.
Yes.
And this is the first of many, many, many scenes we get of David in his short shorts.
Yeah.
Nipples and slightly hairy chest on full
Uh-huh.
display. I feel like there were lots of closet cases in 1950s who were living for this.
Yes.
David is with his girlfriend and colleague, Kay Lawrence. Carl asks David and Kay about their marital status. And Kay says they're together all the time, so they might as well save on the expenses by not getting married.
Yeah. Good on you, Queen.
What we also learn is they've only been together 6 months. Anyway.
Hey, it's classic Hollywood.
Classic Hollywood. You get
That's
married
a long
after
time.
6 hours. Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like Carl is perhaps a friend of Dorothy's himself.
Okay.
Checking David's marital status.
See if he's single.
A mild flirt. But yeah, I think it's very progressive to have Kay say, "Oh no, fuck marriage." Like,
essentially, we're together all the time. What does the ring didn't mean a thing?
yes.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
For 1954, that is progressive.
Yeah, that's a little bit progressive. Yeah, good on them. But yeah,
yeah, but it's also because these fucking guys behind her back. But, you know.
Potentially. Hey, why are we assuming Kay's sexuality?
Hey, that's true. It's true.
You know,
it could be convenience marriage.
Convenient. You know, she wants to get ahead in her career.
Yeah.
You know, date the guy. Well, essentially, a colleague, I suppose, but maybe I don't know. It's patriarchal, and this is very much throughout the film. We see Kay is put into a box as a woman, and it's infuriating.
Yeah.
So David persuades his boss, the financially minded Dr. Mark Williams, and Closet Case, to fund a return expedition to the Amazon to look for the remainder of the skeleton. So the idea is that this is evolution gone wrong. That it's kind of marine animals catch a bit of a stray in this scene.
Yeah.
Because they all talk about how, well, this lungfish has been desperate to get onto land for millions of years and hasn't succeeded. The shit job.
Yeah.
And then like all these fish are like, all they want to do is get on land. Just like, who told you that? Who said the fish aren't content just to be in the say that say it to the dodo.
Yeah.
Oh, how's that great being on land? Oh wait, you're extinct because men are shit. Humans are shit, and they will destroy whatever they come into contact with. Say that to the poor lungfish who's just having a nice time.
Yeah.
Oh wait, because you caught it and put it in a fucking tank.
Yeah.
Fucking boring tank. You haven't even put any like little SpongeBob toys in there for it or anything like that. But yeah. Anyway, soon after Carl leaves camp, soon after Carl leaves the camp, an amphibious humanoid, a living member of the same species from which the fossil originated, becomes curious about the expedition's camp. So this is Gilman. This is our creature.
Yeah, our curiously camp Gilman.
Curiously camp. We don't see too much of him at the beginning.
Nice little build up.
When its sudden appearance frightens the assistants, they panic and attack. And in response, the enraged creature kills them both.
Yes.
Now, this is, number one, important to the theme of the film, I feel. It's the idea that we spoke about briefly in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre episode, is the idea that someone has come into someone's space
Yeah.
unexpectedly, and the creature, Leatherface, doesn't know how to deal with this,
Yeah.
and so attacks
Mm-hmm.
and is protecting themselves. In this case, he's curious, but when startled, attacks in an animalistic way. And I think that's interesting and kind of integral to the sort of themes and the queer reading of the film, is that there are a lot of people, queer people, who don't want to shy away from the world, who want to be out and proud, and they poke their heads out, and they get a slap, and then they're like, no, fuck this, fuck you, here's a brick. Here's the first brick at Stonewall.
Absolutely. Or in
it's the analogy I was making, very, very, very haphazardly.
No,
may I add? But this is how you could interpret the film. I genuinely don't think that this is what the writers were going for, and I genuinely don't think that. But a good film is open to interpretation like this, and I feel like there's something in there, in the idea that he is reacting to their reaction. I also think he's punishing them for the bad wigs.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, his version of the first brick is snatching someone's wig.
Yeah. It is a webbed hand to the head, but the wigs are bad. And in the grand tradition of many, many films from the period and after, many horror films, it is the ethnic minorities that are killed. And killed first. So these are... I believe, and the film doesn't go too much into it, but I believe locals to the Amazonian area. I'm assuming the actors weren't,
probably not.
Hence the wigs. But yeah, they're the fodder. But spoiler alert: a main character is killed. By the end. So, but obviously, to start with, let's kill the ethnic minorities. In the grand tradition of horror films.
Well, I hope you like trivia.
Okay,
we have some things to say about the design for the creature.
Okay.
The first design for the costume was modelled after the Oscar statuette given by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science. The design was quickly scrapped in favour of looking like a penis.
Do you think anyone's ever done anything a bit naughty with an Oscar statuette?
Probably, yeah.
Because there was and this is WWE based, but there was an infamous video that was released of people getting a little frisky and involving a WWE title.
Okay.
Because they get to keep them as when they're the champion. And I wonder if anyone's ever done that with an Oscars, because the Oscar statue is maybe shaped.
Well, I'm sure the Oscar statues have been around a lot longer than sex toys, so, gotta do what you gotta do.
Also, do you think some entrepreneur has made a dildo in the shape of an Oscar statuette?
Probably.
I think that's a definite.
Yeah, probably.
Someone has definitely done that.
Yeah. The creature's appearance was based on old 17th century woodcuts of two bizarre creatures called the sea monk and the sea bishop.
Oh.
The creature's final head was based on a penis and that of the sea monk, but the original discarded head was based on that of the sea bishop. So the sea monk looks like a penis, apparently.
Probably. There's lots of animals that look like cocks.
Forrest J. Ackerman, a horror and science fiction writer for Famous Monsters of Film and Magazine, brought the mask and claws of the creature's costume from a young man who had once used them as a Halloween costume. The costume pieces were discarded by Universal after production had finished on the three films, and were later recovered from the studio's dumpster by a janitor who thought the ensemble would make a good Halloween costume for his son.
I'm not being funny. They'd never heard of eBay.
I know. Well... Raquel Brannon, a professional diver and swimmer, was required to hold his breath for up to 4 minutes at a time for his underwater role as the Girl Man. The director's logic was that the air would have to travel through the monster's gills, and first air bubbles from his mouth or nose must not be seen. First, the costume was designed without an air tank. In the subsequent films, the detail was ignored and air can be seen emanating from the top of the creature's head.
I think putting somebody under danger, just so there's no bubbles, is a little far fetched.
It is.
I can
much.
be like, you don't have to get too much into the science of things. If a few bubbles come out the costume, I'm alright with that.
Yeah.
Just so no one dies whilst filming.
But there we go. Some information on the creature.
Nice. So the group goes aboard the tramp steamer Rita.
Yes.
And
Speaking
that's
of gay
why
icons.
the Rita is a tramp. Tramp steamer Rita. I don't know what makes her a tramp. Each to their own. They were quite judgy back in the 50s. It's captained by Krusty Lucas.
Krusty Lucas on the tramp Rita.
Yeah, he's a crusty old man. He's a I don't know if crusty is the word I would use. I am paraphrasing from Wikipedia here to a certain extent. And described him as crusty, which there we go. The expedition consists of David, Carl, Mark, Kay, and another scientist, Dr. Edwin Thompson, who does absolutely fuck all until a little later.
True.
So when they arrive at the camp, they discover that Carl's assistants have been killed while he was away. Lucas suggests it was likely done by a jaguar, but the others are unsure. David, being a manly man, makes sure that Kay doesn't see the camp, as her delicate femininity may be affected by the gruesome sight. I hate this.
It's so condescending.
They didn't even think anything. They were just like, oh, maybe something's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, stay here. Don't look.
But it's kind of like from around the same time, the thing from another world, where, for a lot of the film, it's very much, oh, she's a woman, get her away. But then at the end, she gets her redeeming moment where she gets to do something.
Yes.
And she has like little helpful hints that she drops throughout the whole thing, and she's actually quite useful in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Kay, I mean, she's there to just slay. That's it.
Yeah, she might, at times, she might as well just be a mannequin.
Yeah.
So with further excavation of the area where Carl found the fossil, turns up nothing. So this is after 8 days.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mark says, we've been here for 8 days and there's nothing. So Mark is ready to give up the search, but David suggests that perhaps thousands of years ago, the part of the embankment containing the rest of the skeleton fell into the water and was washed downriver, broken up by the current. And nobody mentions it, but what they should ask is, why didn't you have this idea and mention it 8 fucking days ago? Wait, what about 4 days? 4 days of not finding anything? Why didn't you turn around and say, oh yeah, maybe it's down the river?
Yeah.
Bright spark that he is. Carl says the tributary empties into a lagoon. Lucas calls it the Black Lagoon, a paradise from which no one has ever returned.
What he actually says is, my boys call it the Black Lagoon, a paradise for cruising. Only they say nobody has ever come back to prove it.
This is Krusty Lucas, though. I don't think Krusty Lucas is...
He's got his boys. I mean...
The scientists decide to risk it, unaware that the creature, the amphibious gillman that we've all been talking about, that killed Carl's assistants, has been watching them.
Yeah.
Taking notice of the beautiful Kay, the creature follows the tramp steamer Rita all the way downriver to the Black Lagoon.
And he'll pop out every now and then and be like, yes, hunty mama slay.
Once the expedition arrives, David and Mark go diving to collect rock samples from the lagoon floor. So the underwater camera work is a real standout within the film. It's actually potentially the best part of the film, or what I believe has given the film its longevity.
On a technical standpoint, yeah.
Yes.
And the 3D, it kind of makes a little bit of a swimming. It adds to the depth of the 3D. It's really good.
And this is some beautifully clear water as well, thankfully.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, there's that generation that fucked it up for the rest of us. So.
Of course, we again get some swimming trunk action.
It's so homoerotic.
It is.
There's some leg touching. There's some trunks pulling.
There was a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like just a little tug.
Yeah, a little
Little tug.
And
Yeah.
when they get out of the water, Mark gets really jealous of David spending too long taking his gear off next to Kay. And he's like, "Come on, David, you can play house later."
Yes. Yeah, we get the jump scare of the face reveal for the creature. And I can honestly, I can imagine the audiences in the 1950s
Yeah.
absolutely losing their shit over this.
It's a cock.
Especially in 3D. Well,
Cock
3D.
with eyes.
What could be scarier to a 1950s audience than a 3D cock coming out of the
I know.
screen? The men, they get the rocks to examine, and David gives Kay some plants as a romantic gesture.
Yes.
She's like, "Oh, lovely." She also says, "I wonder what it's like down there. I would love to give it a go sometime." And
She
I'm
means
like,
being gay.
well, and I'm like, oh, great. Can't wait to see her scuba diving later. Spoiler alert, doesn't happen.
Hang on a minute.
Bitch, she don't go scuba diving.
She doesn't go scuba diving.
She does not
but
go
she
scuba diving.
makes the most of that water.
She specifically says, "I would love to give that a go. I wonder what it's like. Go real deep down into the lagoon.
Yeah.
Do some actual scientific work because she is a fucking
It's true.
scientist and she's able to actually do something." Mark seems somewhat perturbed by David and Kay's relationship. David believes it's his workaholic, money-orientated personality, but I believe it's a romantic jealousy of Kay and affection for David.
Yeah.
After they return, Kay goes swimming herself and is stalked underwater by the creature, who then gets briefly caught in one of the ship's drag lines. Although it escapes, the creature leaves a claw behind in the net, revealing its existence.
This is the height of camp.
Yes.
Kay is doing her underwater gymnastics.
Well, she's a little bit. She's mainly swimming on the surface, but she does her little dives, doesn't she?
She does like some flips and tricks.
Yeah.
And all whilst the creature is doing synchronized swimming with her underneath.
Yeah, Kay is, of course, because she's a woman, she's very demure and ladylike in her swim. No scuba diving for her. But the creature, they're almost synchronized at times until he tickles her feet.
Yes.
Which creeps her out. And then the men shout at Kay to tell her she's gone too far out for some reason.
Yeah, because she's a woman.
Like, they were just scuba diving.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do they think? How has she gone too far out?
They have
like,
cocks.
Fuck
They can
off.
do that.
Like, fuck you.
Yeah, David says to her, "Okay, that wasn't a very smart thing to do," and she says, "But it was wonderful."
Yeah, fuck you. Fuck off. Why is she not allowed to swim as far as they're allowed to swim? Dickheads. David and Mark, they go for another scuba diving session, and Mark shoots the creature with a harpoon. No, not Mark. Oh, which one's Mark? Which one's David?
I think David shoots
Mark's
the creature.
Mark's
the blonde one.
Yeah. Mark shoots the creature with a harpoon.
Oh, okay.
In the leg. Yeah,
Yes.
Mark's the closet case.
Yeah, this is, again, super camp because they're chasing the creature whilst having their little homoerotic diving session, whilst the creature's doing fucking backstrokes to get away from them. And they attempt to take its picture, but completely fail.
Yeah, and Mark wants it
Like Kay
dead or
could have done
alive. Yeah. So in retaliation, the creature climbs on board and kills one of Lucas's crew members and drags him into the water.
Yes. Before that, though, there's a conversation, and David says, "Oh, come on," and Mark says, "No, it's the other way
This
around."
is when they're
Mark
in the
says,
small rowboats.
yeah. So
Yes.
Mark says, "Oh, come on," and David says, "You talking to me, Mark, or something out there?"
Yeah, so Mark and David, they managed to put shirts on and go out on a small rowboat to capture the creature. And to clarify, they put shirts on but don't do the buttons up. And like Gary said, Mark said, come on. Are you talking to me, Mark, or something out there? Both, David. They won't believe it back home. None of them. I wouldn't have believed it myself, sitting out here waiting for some monster to appear. That's why they've got to take him. Why don't they believe Mark? Because we deal with the known quantities. with knowledge we've accumulated up to now, David says, we've just begun to learn about the water and its secrets, just as we've only touched on outer space. We don't entirely rule out the possibility that there might be some form of life on another planet. And why not some entirely different form of life in a world we already know is inhabited by millions of living creatures? Mark says, we must have proof. Definitely talking about queer people.
Yeah.
Like, if there's aliens, then there's definitely homosexuals.
It's true.
And when they talk about underwater, they're of course talking about gay bars.
Yes.
The creature tries to attack the boat at night, but gets scared by a lantern. So scared by light.
Yeah.
And the creature swims off, so Mark and David get down to their trunks again and go off in search of the creature through some large caves.
I do love the shot of them shining the spotlight on him whilst he's up against the wall, the creature. And he's like, girl, I am literally just trying to go for a swim. Fuck off.
The creature's like, that's not my light. Do not light me from above. The creature loses them and attacks Kay, attempting to abduct her, but is captured and locked in a cage aboard the tramp steamer Rita.
Yeah, also kills Z.
Who's Z? Remind me.
It's a background character. I only know that because I have a bit of trivia about it.
Oh.
So Z is there and gets in the way of the creature trying to kidnap.
Oh yes, yes.
Kay. And the creature strangles, kills him. But originally, the script called for him to pick Z up and throw him at the camera for 3D effect.
Yes.
But the wires used to lift Z up, it didn't work. They kept breaking.
Oh.
And after 2 tries, they just decided to strangle him. I just got a random bit of dialogue here.
Go on and tell us.
That I found funny. It's the guy on the boat that I don't remember his name because he doesn't do anything. He's like, you're worried, to Kay, you're worried about what's happening between Mark and David. She should be.
Well, this is Edwin. So during the night, it escapes and attacks Edwin, who was guarding it. Edwin smashes the creature with a lantern, driving it off. But Edwin himself is severely injured.
Yeah.
And you're worried about... I was a little kid because I thought this was Mark.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, Mark's being the gay best friend, giving some advice. But maybe Edwin... Maybe there was something between Edwin and Mark.
Maybe.
That, and Edwin's trying to... Whatever.
The shot of the creature on fire looks so good.
It does. So following this incident, David decides they should return to civilization. Mark, who is now obsessed with capturing or indeed killing the creature, objects. As the tramp steamer Rita tries to leave, they find the creature has blocked the lagoon's entrance with fallen logs. While the others attempt to remove the logs, Mark is mauled to death while trying to capture the creature single-handed underwater. So David tries to stop Mark from doing whatever he wants to do with the creature. And they have a mild shirtless scuffle before David punches Mark.
Little gay scrap.
It's very,
Short
very
shorts are still on.
homoerotic.
Yeah.
The creature tries to attack the poor defenseless Edwin whilst he's bandaged in bed, unable to move, but the firing of a shotgun scares him off. This is high camp.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's called a porthole in a boat.
Uh-huh.
And
we'll be talking
hand...
about it very soon with another film.
Which one?
Picture Jason Voorhees.
Oh God. But the hand comes through the porthole, obviously for a 3D effect. But Edwin is like comically bandaged up and unable to move. It's like, and then obviously Kay, being a woman, turns around, screams, and all the manly men save the day. After David moves the logs, the creature climbs aboard the tramp steamer Rita and approaches Kay from behind. Kay is now wearing a halter top for extra service points. This is my second favourite. Obviously, my favourite is the one that made all the promotional material. It's the white one piece.
Yeah.
She looks amazing. But I also quite enjoy this whole top number with they're not quite Daisy Dukes, but shorts.
Yeah.
Actually, they're probably longer in length than the men's shorts.
They definitely are, yeah. I love the camp dive that the creature does off the boat whilst holding Kay.
This is amazing. She screams as the creature grabs her, taking her away to its cavern lair. This is pretty much a body slam into the water. This is a rock bottom into the water. It looks amazing. It's in all the trailers.
Yeah.
It looks great. It looks fantastic. David, Lucas, and Carl pursue them, rescuing Kay and riddling the creature with bullets. It retreats to the lagoon where its body sinks into the watery depths. And that's it. That is the end of Creature from the Black Lagoon. I love the image of Kay passed out on the rock.
Yeah.
And there's like a mist around her. This, I feel, is the cavern part, and particularly this image, I feel, is the most Universal Monsters.
Yeah.
Universal Monsters are famous for having, I suppose we'd call it dry ice now. I don't know, like fog and mist
smoke
out from nowhere. It's like stars in your eyes.
Yes.
The stars in your eyes, stars in their eyes.
Stars in their eyes.
Okay. But yeah, I love the image and David sort of helping her as she's passed out.
Yeah.
I wish she would have kicked some ass. But
It's a
if
shame.
she's not, she can at least serve on a rock.
It's such a short sequence, which is such a shame. But yeah, it's Creature from the Black Lagoon is a camp classic, and of course it's got its faults. You know, we could do with some better female representation in there, but at least the representation we got is drop dead gorgeous, stunning, and just always serving.
Yeah, it's I find the film maybe a little repetitive in its like diving, try to shoot the creature comes on board. Diving, try to shoot the creature comes on board. You know, and it's I think maybe a little stilted in places, particularly with Kay's character. I wish she was just had a little more to her. But then that is also an interpretation for the film itself.
Yeah.
That the creature is almost trying to save her from this patriarchal setup.
Yeah.
She is the only woman in the film. She is the only woman in this group of men.
Yeah.
This is a work outing. This is a work expedition. She is a colleague. She is a scientist. She should be able to showcase her intelligence and her abilities, and they're stifled.
Yeah.
She's not even allowed to swim as far out as the men are for some reason. You know, no reason given. Like, don't swim out there.
Yeah.
You can't see this. And we could interpret the creature as trying to save her from that.
Yeah.
Also, the creature could be interpreted as an ecological thing, protecting itself from man, from humans.
Yeah.
You're destroying the earth. Don't destroy me.
Yeah.
You know, why are you reacting? Why are you trying to kill me like this? You know, Mark is a rich man who wants to get richer off the back of this creature.
Yeah.
Who gives him the rights? Who said that he owns this creature? The same way that you could look at something like an aquarium or a zoo. Why are you profiting from this?
Yeah.
And that's how you could look at it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's open for interpretation and for personal opinion. But I think it's a very interesting film. Like we said, it has its faults, but I do think there's some real substance there.
Oh, yeah.
But also a giant camp value to it, which is the holy grail for this podcast.
I know. Yeah. Should we give some awards?
Yes. Biggest queen. Oh, it's Kay.
Tramp
Steamerita.
It's Kay.
It's Kay. It is. It would be a disservice to say it could only be Kay as the only.
But you could give it to Mark
as the only woman. And biggest
give it
queen
to the
doesn't
creature.
always have to be a woman. Gender is a construct. But it is Kay.
Yeah.
She looks good, and she wants to. She wants to push herself, and hopefully, is she in the sequel?
I have no idea.
hopefully in her own sequel. If she's not in the sequel,
Yeah.
she gets to scuba dive.
Biggest gasp. I got the wig snatch for the creature's first kill.
I went with the creature's first face reveal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like on Grindr, the shock of the face reveal.
Best dialogue. I have. Oh, come on. You talking to me, Mark, or something out there?
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Rap camp.
And that's camp. I've got the creature in case synchronized swimming routine.
Absolutely high camp.
Ratings, I give it 8 getaways on Tramp Steamer Rita out of 10.
I went with 8 out of 10, which is also the probability of any scene in this film featuring either David or Mark's nipples.
Accurate. Masterpiece, trash basic, or a camp hole bunch of fun. It's a camp hole bunch of fun.
I would say it's a camp hole bunch of fun.
It's available on DVD, Blu-ray, and video on demand. The Blu-ray is Blu-ray 3D if you have a 3D TV. If you enjoyed this, I went with the obvious, and I'll say check out The Shape of Water.
If you enjoyed this, I recommend checking out Trog, because Trog almost feels like a parody of this film at times.
It's true. Yeah.
Nipples, caves, all that business.
Yeah.
We've added Joan Crawford too. So
We are Horror Cult Trash Ever on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Horror Cult Trash on Twitter. I'm Dead@Gaz92 on Letterboxd, Gazmo205 on Instagram, and GazCruise92 on Twitter.
I am Chris Barker 823 on Instagram and Letterboxd.
And together we are also Gasp Horror Fest across all social media. Go check it out. Give us a rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, like a follow, and everything else. Next week, we'll be back on another Friday because it's Manchester Pride.
Yes.
We are gay, and we will be there. And so it might make it a little difficult to get it out for Tuesday. But it will be out on Friday, along with some news about the following month and some things we're doing. But next week, we will be discussing, for original versus remake, both versions of 2000 Maniacs. So that's 2000 Maniacs and 2001 Maniacs.
Yeah, really excited to discuss these films for summer screams, original versus remake.
Yeah. So we'll be back same time, same place next week.
Bye.